We're back, and honestly, I don't know if we were ready to start the show, but we're going to start the show because Max and I were just having a pre-show debate on. Max was saying there was a snowstorm where he is in Minnesota. I said I'd rather have snow than rain, and you started to debate that.
Yeah, dude, we get snow way too often in Minnesota, so I'd rather take the rain, to be honest, just to get the green back in the trees and the grass and stuff like that. Once you got 5 months of snow, you're kind of just ready for it to be done. So
I
I'd,
know.
I'd personally rather take the rain, but I know some people like the snow. But
I just
I'm
rather, like, when it snows, you get sunny skies sometimes after, like, the storm
yeah,
passes, you got snows on the pine trees, the evergreen trees, and it's like, versus the rain, which if I could spin my whole setup right now, it's just like that gloomy, and rain post-winter, when, like, all the snow piles that are left are just, like, black, and they're just disgusting, like, dang. But, Max, I'm pumped to have you on, man. You're one of these guys that it doesn't matter what school you root for. Like, you're a guy that it just seems like everybody's rooting for. Like, you're fun to watch. You had an incredible season, so I'm pumped to have you on. Let's start. We're a couple weeks out from NCAA's. The dust has settled a bit. How would you summarize it this past season?
man, it was awesome, man. There's so many takeaways that you can take from a wrestling season, and having the red shirt last season, really just having that itch all season to get out there was hard, but I think long term it was smart. We had a guy like Isaiah Salazar who is an absolute stud, and I got to sit behind him and learn from him about how he takes care of business out there. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it was a smart thing for me to sit out that season. But this past season, man, it was great. Obviously, had a great regular season, and then obviously, when we got to Big Tens and NCAAs, I knew like the hard matches were coming, but I was excited for it. People didn't know like how I was going to do against the top guys, but I was ready to go out there and show it and prove it. And obviously, it didn't fall my way, but at the end of the day, I think I proved I'm to that level and I'm ready to go.
Listen, I would argue, I don't know if it didn't fall your way just because you didn't have an undefeated freshman season, because you still had such an incredible season. I mean, I said it all year on shows with Willie where it's like, you had your redshirt season and then this season, and it combined, I think, 35-2, which, so often we talk about like how guys will translate their success from high school to college. And you see guys that maybe are top big boarders that don't pan out, or guys that just maybe weren't as highly recruited, do awesome. Like for you, what do you think helped make that jump from high school to college and be at the level you are at this past couple of years?
Just fully training wrestling and being here at the University of Minnesota. People don't kind of know, but a lot of people don't know. When I was in high school, like once wrestling was done, like I was focusing on football. I was trying to get better at football because I wanted to play football in college. And so I didn't wrestle year round until like end of my junior year to going into my senior year of high school. And I mean, I still didn't in senior year because I played football. So I think just wrestling year round and always being in the room, and then you come in a college room and there's you're wrestling with all Americans and you're wrestling with really great guys and practice partners every single day. Like you jump levels. And then when we got Michael Kemerer to come in here, like that's a dude that put so much time into me and effort into me, and he just helped me develop even more. And obviously when he was wrestling in college, like he was the guy, right? He was super good. So I had some tough goes right away with him, but like you learn and you learn like how those guys wrestle and the style that and the way you have to compete to compete with those guys. So just being able to wrestle with him, man, it helped me jump levels. It really did.
I want to talk more about Kemerer in a couple minutes, but to stick on the theme of like being a highly recruited prospect, sometimes I feel like it's hard to label somebody who's a top big boarder as maybe an underdog. But when you come to the NCAA and you go from, I just had, just did a show that's coming out tomorrow with Drake Ayala, and him talking about the difference in like being in a room where you're training with high schoolers to being in that room where you're competing with college guys. And it's such a jump and you are an underdog. What's your mindset like heading into, college, heading into your redshirt freshman season where you are an underdog, but I don't think next year you're going to be an underdog against many guys at all. Like, what's that mindset like of being an underdog, knowing you have so much, talent there?
Just, I never doubted myself. I always knew that I could compete with anybody. So coming into college, I had that same mentality. I'm like, I'm not gonna walk out onto the mat and some other dude just come in and kick my butt. I'm gonna compete. And I've always been competitive, and that was kind of just my mindset coming in. And I personally I don't think the wrestling media kind of understood who I was yet. I don't think I was in the media a lot very much coming up, and it kind of put a chip on my shoulder because like I thought that I truly thought I was one of the best freshmen coming in, but
Yeah.
when you see the media attention going to these other people, it makes you want to prove yourself, and it makes you want to go
Yeah.
out there with a chip on your shoulder. And, that's what I did in every single match. I was coming to prove myself that I am the best or one of the best in college wrestling.
I love that. And when you start climbing these rankings and all of a sudden you're like, okay, especially when you're going undefeated and it's like, as a freshman, I always break Willie's balls over having guys ranked lower. And it's like, I know they're that good, but they don't have the win yet. And that's one of the kind of the fun we have with his crystal ball. But for you, as you start having these big wins and climbing the ranks, is there a bit of like, I told you guys I'm here and I'm for real? Or is it just kind of like on to the next match, like this is nothing yet?
Yeah, I think every freshman has to come and improve themselves. I don't disagree with the fact that you come in your your freshman season, and you shouldn't be ranked super high. Like, you haven't proved yourself in college, and obviously these kids are very good, but like you see all the time, high school kids will come in and just they don't do as well as some people may have thought they would.
Yeah.
So I do think that you have to come and improve yourself, and that's what makes wrestling so fun. You like seeing the young guy who's ranked really low come in and wrestle like one of the older guys that's a top guy. Everybody wants to see that. So I think it's good for the sport, and I think the younger people coming in, you got to prove yourself.
Yeah. I think too, it's like, it's always funny to me, like putting out all these graphics. And a lot of times I'll do like upsets, primarily based on seed. If a 10 seed beats a 1 seed, it's an upset. I don't care what anybody says, like rankings wise, if nothing else, it's an upset. And you're one of those guys where it's like if you upset someone, the commenters instantly, not an upset, not an upset, not an upset. I'm like, I understand these guys are good. Like, they're super capable. And I think for you, your only losses this year were an overtime loss to Carter Starachi, a now 5-time champ, and a national champion Parker Kekkaisen, who only lost this year to the 5-time champ Carter. What did you take away from those 2 losses this year?
The things that I took away is just you have to be like ready to go at all times. You can't
Yeah.
take a break in those matches. When you wrestle those top guys like Carter and Parker, like, they're coming at you the entire match. And so, a big thing Eggum says like to me during my matches is stay focused. You have to stay
Yeah.
focused during the match. So I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned is like you always got to be mentally in it, and you always got to be mentally prepared for what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So staying focused and staying in there, like it's hard to hand fight with those guys, and it takes a toll on you later in the match, but that's why you train super hard. You train to be in the late overtime periods with these best guys, and obviously you plan to beat them. I plan to beat them, but sometimes it doesn't go your way, and that's all right. You learn from it, and I just learned that it takes another step. You got to jump. You got to jump another level to be able to wrestle with these guys. And I always believed that I was at that level, and I was ready to prove to myself and to everybody else that I am there and I am ready to beat those guys.
Yeah, 100%. I think you proved that to everybody. What would you say is the biggest difference in wrestling Carter and Parker?
Um, Carter's always in your face. He's always coming at you. Um, the difference with Carter and Parker, I would say, is Parker. I think he's a little bit more dynamic offensively, and he's got, a bunch more shots in his arsenal. And he maybe doesn't come and is in your face more, but he's able to attack both sides of the body, all that stuff. But when you're wrestling Carter, he's always in your face, and you never really get a moment to relax in that
Yeah.
match. You always have to stay mentally in it.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling both of those dudes, it's like they're going to bring it for every second they're in that match. And I swear, sometimes these overtime matches, it looks like overtime from a gas tank standpoint is like the match is just starting. It's crazy. That tight overtime loss to Parker in the semis. I was just talking to Luke Lilladall about this a couple weeks ago, and I love his mindset on it, and I wanted to talk to you about yours. You drop that semis match instantly. You got to get to weight. You got to get some sleep. Battle back the next morning for third. You come out. You beat Jackson Smith. Take out a 4-time All-American Dustin Plott to take third. What's your mindset after the semis loss in maintaining that perspective to bounce back from that tough loss and place third now?
Man, it's hard. I won't lie to people. Like, it's hard to have your dream ripped away from you off a sequence like that. It's hard, but our coaches preach to us about being professionals and professionals of the sport. So take your 5 to 10 minutes. Reflect on the match. It's okay to be upset after something like that. You should be upset, but then it's time to be a professional. And is it fun, throwing on your sweats and going to sweat to cut weight after that? Does anybody want to do it? No, but you got to be a professional in this sport if you want to be the best. And, once you can't get first, you got to get the best place that you can. So that was my mindset going into it. I know my coaches helped me with that, just, being there for me and, saying like, hey, come back and get what's best. And, my family and friends, all supporting me, saying, hey, come back and get third. So, it's tough, but if you want to prove yourself in this sport, you got to go through it. Everybody knows wrestling is a tough thing, and it's not easy, and you don't want it to be easy. To be honest, you want to go through those hardships, and you want to overcome those things, and just to prove to yourself, most importantly, that you're able to do these things.
Yeah, and you sometimes see like that semifinal slide where somebody losing the semis, and it is hard to bounce back. And I think for you, you seem to, just in talking to you and watching, like you have that confidence. And I'm curious, being in the Big Ten, it's not uncommon to have an absolute grueling schedule. I love Shane Sparks, calls it the Premier Wrestling Conference. And I'm curious if there is a match this season that, even your redshirt season the year before, if there was a match that maybe gave you confidence that like, hey, I can go with the best of the best. Not just like you knowing you can, but if there was a match that maybe gave you that added confidence, like, hey, I can definitely go with these guys, the best of the best.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely the South Dakota State duel when I wrestled Bennett Berge.
Okay.
He got fourth the previous year at Nationals, beat a bunch of really good guys. And I'd faced him a couple times previous, and never beat him. So I'd say once I won that, and that was a grind of a match. And once I pulled that one out, I was like I can wrestle with any of these guys. There's no reason that I can't come out here and compete and beat the best guys.
Yeah. When you have all these guys, it's funny that the match against Berge, a non-Big Ten guy, is the one that gives you the confidence, when having such a tough schedule in the Big Ten. But I'm also curious, like, when you do wrestle so many tough guys, and this isn't just Big Ten, this is all across the D1, there's tough guys everywhere. But are you a big, like, film scouting guy with your coaches? Or is a lot of it, like, I've heard from a lot of guys on here, like, it's really me. I want to get a feel for them. I want to get a feel for their instincts, and then I'm going to kind of wrestle based on what I feel. Are you kind of more of a scouting guy with your coaches, or are you more of a feels and instinct type of guy?
I don't watch film one bit.
Really?
Like, at all. Not at all. No.
Wow.
It doesn't change what I'm going to go out there and do. You know what I mean? Like, just because somebody does something, you don't want to change your wrestling style to wrestle against a different person. You want to do the stuff you're good at, right? So why would I change what I'm doing based off, another guy? But like, Kemerer and them, they'll come up to me and say like, hey, if you get in this situation in the match, like, they might do this or they might try and do this. But as far as watching them, like I could care less to watch them. I just go out there and do what I do normally.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It's funny how, and I think relying on your coach is probably a big part of it. Like you said, like if there's something they're going to tell you, like, hey, he's got this or whatever.
Yeah.
But so speaking of Kemerer, there's a lot going on in that Minnesota room, and I do want to talk about Kemerer in a minute. One of those things that will go on in the Minnesota room is Gable Steveson. He's back for this year, and I think that comes with so many interesting aspects. From what an all-time great brings to the table from a leadership standpoint. I tweeted out earlier in the season, I forgot what duel it was, but like everybody was just kind of sitting down, and well, not in a bad way, but like just the duel's going on, and Gable's like standing up, yelling, like seems like the ultimate player coach, and you can see he's taking on that leadership role, and even I think it might have been the duel John Jones was at. And it's like having guys like John Jones at your duel, having Gable and his leadership. What was it like having Gable come back for this season?
Dude, it was awesome for him to come back. He was a guy that I, admired and looked up to while I was in high school wrestling. Like, that's a guy that I've watched for years to come. I remember I watched him in high school, watched him win his 4th state championship. And, to be able to be on a team with an Olympic champion is, an opportunity in itself. And I've said this before, but you can learn so much from that dude by not even wrestling with him. You can just watch him practice and watch him compete and watch him go through his everyday life and take things from him that you can implement into your life. And like he's, people thought he was going to come back and, be super, to himself and not hang out with the team, but that's completely wrong. Like, he's been a great teammate. He holds all of us accountable, holds us to the highest standard. But he's just another one of the guys. We treat him like a friend. We don't treat him differently than anybody else just because of the things he's done. And I know that's what he wants. He doesn't want to be treated any differently. So, man, he's been great for me. He's been great for the program. He's been awesome for college wrestling. I mean, he's changed college wrestling. And even though he dropped that match, he still, in my opinion, is the best in the world. And, he will have a legacy in college wrestling and in wrestling for forever.
Yeah, and even in loss, what he did for the sport, going on Pat McAfee like Monday morning after the loss, and that helped propel. I mean, Wyatt Hendrickson was on Ariel Helwani's show today, and he's doing all this media. And part of that is because even in loss, like even in defeat, Gable still has such an impact because somebody beat him. So it's crazy. Another guy, Michael Kemerer, in that room, you talked about him in one of your post-match interviews at NCAA's, and you could tell, like, this wasn't just you fluffing up about a coach and being like, oh yeah, he's great, like kind of a rah-rah speech about him. Like, you could tell he really means a lot to you. What has his impact been on you?
Yeah, just touching on the Gable loss thing for 1 second.
Yeah.
Like, it completely showed me how a true champion is supposed to act.
Yeah,
I mean, when 100%. I watched that, like, as a teammate, as his friend, like I probably took it harder than he did. Like, I was sitting there, I was super hurt. But then, I see him comes off the mat, hugs his family, tells all of us that he's grateful for the season. Man, the way he handled that is mind blowing, and it just shows me, how you're supposed to act after something like that. 100%. And then Kemerer, man. Where do I even start? First time I wrestled with him, dude, it was awesome. The type of technique that he shows and the things that he does is exactly the way I want to wrestle. He's smooth. He's got a great conditioning. I basically almost wrestled with him every single day this year. And, when you learn from a guy like that, man, the sky's the limit. So he's been awesome. I hope he stays here for forever. I know a bunch of other programs are probably going to be reaching out to him wanting to come coach there, but he's staying here in Minnesota. So, yeah, awesome.
It's funny. It's like you sound like Josh Allen trying to protect Bills coaches. Like, no, leave Brady alone.
Leave him alone.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And, to the Gable thing too, like you said, like him patting Wyatt on the back, like when Wyatt's having this moment, I don't think Gable will get enough credit for the sportsmanship he showed in that moment because he was stunned. You could see Gable just on the mat, like after the match, like stunned, like, wait a minute, I just lost. And to rebound that quickly and have the maturity and the perspective to, like, you just helped this guy achieve this moment because of how big it was in beating you. So, yeah, I agree. That was awesome. And Kemerer, I've heard nothing. Everywhere he goes, I hear nothing but great things about him. It's just, and you could tell after your interview how much he means to you. Another guy I want to ask about, just out of a pure entertainment standpoint, Vince Vombaur. The Hurricane. Vance. Hurricane. Like, talk to me about what that dude's like in the room.
Man, he is everything that you would expect out of him. The way he competes is exactly the way he goes about everything. Like in life, he's just high energied, has the utmost confidence in himself in every single match, every single situation, and he's one of the hardest workers I've ever met. And great kid, loves his teammates. It's what you'd expect when you see him out there. Like, they call him the Hurricane for a reason, man. He's coming at you every single second of that match. And he's just fun to watch. I know the fans love him. His personality's great. His interviews are funny, but he's really good. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. Shane Sparks was telling me the story. Do you know the story about how he got the nickname the Hurricane? And, like, the whole weight room story. I don't remember the whole story, but when he was telling me, it was hilarious.
Our strength coach, I think, called him the Hurricane or something like that. And it just stuck. It all stuck. And then one of our teammates went up to Shane Sparks and said, "Hey, when Vance Vombaur wrestles, call him the Hurricane." So that's just it started because of that. And it's awesome that Shane did that. And
Shane loves it. I don't know if he can say it without smiling because he just loves saying it so much.
Yeah. I think it's his contact name for Vance on his phone. It's the Hurricane. So Vance was laughing and showing us that, so that's funny.
I love that. So you talk about all these great guys. You talk about Vombaur. You talk about Kemerer. You talk about Eggum. You have got so much momentum already in your early career. What's your perspective now on maintaining this momentum and looking forward to the next 3 years of competition you still have?
Man, it's just the things that we're doing in the room, man. It's just, there's a standard when you come into this room, and, we don't let people, fall below it. Obviously we've had a couple transfers come in who have been great for us in our program. And, we have full belief in our coaches that they're going to bring in guys that, are going to want to be here and are going to, show what it's like to be a true Minnesota wrestler. So, man, we're just working hard in the room. That's all it takes is the momentum. That's where it comes from. And, we got a great group of guys, all dedicated, and all of us want to be here. And we're ready to, take a leap as a team and, be one of those top teams again, be the 2000 Gophers when they won a national championship. And, that's our goal.
I mentioned Kemerer and Eggum and Gable. Is there anybody else in the room that's kind of mentored you, or somebody that other people might not think of as having that, like, that leadership role specifically for you?
Specifically for me, like I said, this year, Isaiah Salazar was great. Yeah. He went up to 197. So, I could fill in at 184, and he's just the ultimate team guy. People look at him like he's this super scary guy, but he's the nicest dude you'd ever meet. And, he really has been a great leader for everybody on this program and in this program and on this team. And, whatever you need, I know you can go to him, and he'll always be the guy to help you out.
Yeah. And, this momentum, it's funny because I was just telling Willie, like, 184 might be, and I guess we can talk about, I know we're going to do some rapid fire questions, and fans want to know if you think you'll stay at 184 or 97, but 184 has to be one of the biggest stock up weights out of all 10 weights in collegiate wrestling. I mean, you have this turnover now where Carter and Parker, the two returning national champs, are gone, and you have Angelo Ferrari, Rocco Welch, Ryder, Braden Thompson, maybe Sinclair if he stays at 84 and Elam's at 97. Like, it is such an exciting weight. Do you give much thought to that, like being a part of such a young, great crop of wrestlers?
what I've always said is like, even though a 5-time national champ and a national champ are leaving the weight class, it doesn't get any easier. There's always
Yeah.
guys that are coming to take those spots, and there's those we've got guys that could have maybe beat those guys. Like, there's always guys that are there to take that next leap and become the next guy in that weight class, and that's what I'm gonna do. But I don't care who comes into the weight class. At the end of the day, they got to come and see me.
Yeah.
So. Um, but I have respect for all those guys. They're great wrestlers. I know they're going to put it out there every single time they're out there. So, respect to them. But, I know what my goals are, and I'm not going to let someone, step on the mat and stop me from achieving that.
I love that. Do you think you'll stay 184?
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's a plan.
Yep.
All right, listen, let's do some rapid fire fan Q&A, because these are always so fun, because sometimes there's people who might have inside knowledge on stuff. Some are silly questions, but we'll do a little bit and get to some. A lot of them we cover, but we'll go through some. Let's start with Ethan. What do you like best about being at Minnesota?
Just the culture that we have here. All the guys on the team are, we're super, close group, and we got each other's backs.
I love that. We talked about weight. Cody Arnold. What was it like when you transitioned from ketchup to steak sauce on your steaks?
Man, so they make fun of me because I used to put ketchup on my steak. But when we were at NCAAs, they didn't have ketchup, so I had to use A1 sauce, which I turned out I actually really liked. But they always give me a hard time for that. But only people who do it know that real men put ketchup on their steak. So
listen, I don't put ketchup on anything, honestly. Even my kids, like when they like chicken, like they're toddlers and they want like chicken nuggets and fries and these things, and it's like first of all, I put nothing on eggs, nothing on a steak, but I do. It's a Dutch thing. I dip French fries into mayonnaise, and it's fantastic. And a lot of times, listen, don't. I had this debate with Mark Hall, and I said, don't knock it until you try it. So you're gonna have to try French fries and mayonnaise if you gave that a shot. I had somebody come at me saying that sounds disgusting, and they said they put ketchup on their eggs. So I said, you're not allowed to say something's disgusting when you put ketchup on your eggs.
That's funny.
This is an interesting one. Did you exceed your own expectations this year? I'm assuming you had an expectation of being a national champ, as most guys do. But did you have expectations that you feel like you met for the year?
I don't feel like I met my expectations. Even though, I'm proud of, what I did. At the end of the day, I wanted to win Big Tens and I wanted to win NCAAs, and it's unfortunate the way it went. But, there's the only thing at the end of the day, you can't change what happened. So you got to be proud of yourself, proud of the effort that you put in all season. But, I definitely think that my expectations were to win it. And they were to win it, and coming for it for the next 3 years. So we'll get it then.
I love that. This is a question that pops up lately on no matter who we have on the podcast. It came up for Lil Adult, it came up with Drake, it came up with everybody we do. Somebody just writes transfer portal ? You want to just put that one to bed?
It ain't happening.
I don't know if that's like a fan of another program that's hopeful or what, but that just seems to pop up like crazy. Do you have a go-to post-tournament snack?
Post-tournament snack? Oh, pizza. Frank's Pizza. Frank's Pizza when we get off the bus. Don't tell my coaches, but that's usually the go-to.
This is an interesting one. Do you have a specific position you need or want to improve at after this season?
Definitely on top.
Yeah.
I want to be able to turn people, want to get to, some tilts and stuff like that. Definitely a spot where I need to work. Definitely also after, the Keck Eisen match, finishing a single leg up in the air. He did a great job defensively, but, I need to learn how to, to finish that better.
Yeah. Teammate who surprised you the most this year?
Teammate that surprised me the most this year.
And it's very open-ended, so there's not like...
It is. I'm going to go with Tommy Askey.
Okay.
Came in, super shy right away, opened up to all of us, was great friend, great guy, nicest dude you'll ever meet. And, the way he wrestles is just completely opposite. He's just in your face, mean, hard hand fighter, super strong kid, and he goes out there and he takes it every time. And obviously he fell short in the blood round this year, which was unfortunate, but that was a dude who really surprised me this season.
I love that. Plans for freestyle this spring and summer?
I will be going to the U.S. Open U20s
Love
still.
that.
So
Nice.
I got another year U20s, and then I'll be at the obviously the World Team Trials out in Neve, Ohio.
Are you 86 kilos or 92?
86.
86. Very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. A lot of these start getting repetitive. Was there a moment that made you decide you wanted it to be Minnesota? I'm assuming commitment-wise.
I grew up in Minnesota. I've been a Minnesota fan my entire life. And, I always had the thought that I was going to end up here. And then once I got here and, I got around the team and, actually one of my old high school teammates wrestled here. So it's cool to come here and wrestle with one of your old high school teammates. And, just the culture that we have here and the relationships that I've built. I say once you come to Minnesota, you'll have a place to go for the rest of your life. And that's what I love about it.
I love that. This one is, do you have any pre-match routine or rituals?
No routines. I used to listen to music, but I don't anymore. I just cool and calm and collected the entire time. I have a ritual where I'll wear my clothes if I'm in the hole, and then when I'm on deck, I'll take my clothes off to just my singlet. So that's probably the only ritual that I have. But no rituals. Just have confidence in yourself and go out there and do it.
Well, we'll end with this one. I think it's an obvious one. You've kind of already touched on it, but just to give Max_E some love. What are your expectations for next year?
First of all, that kid has a great name, but
that's why I chose him to be last.
To be dominant, man. I want to win it. I want to win everything. I want to win the Hodge. I want to win the national tournament, Big Tens. Those are the expectations that I have for myself, and I think those are the expectations that the people around me have for me. But at the end of the day, they're still going to be there for me, whether that happens or not. But at the end of the day, those are my goals, and those are what I'm gonna do.
I love it. I have one more question for you, and then I'll let you go. We hear so much about dirty politics, as my friend Feller's son says, dirty politics. We hear a lot of dirty politics with NIL and transfer portal and this and that. And I always love seeing wrestlers get actual NIL deals and actual brand endorsement deals. And it looks like you got one with Quick Trip on Monday. So
yeah.
Shout out Quick Trip, number one. I love these brands that are giving wrestlers deals. So I wanted to give them a place on here, but also for you, was that after NCAAs or was that something in the works before? How'd that come about?
They reached out to me before Big Tens.
Okay.
And asked me if I want to do a partnership with them. And that's obviously it's a Midwest gas station. It is my favorite gas station to go to. Shout out Quick Trip. But yeah, they reached out to me, and why not? I think I like what they're about, like their brand. So that was cool to do.
Yeah, I love it. I want to make an article or a tracker of some sort sometime where it's just talking about wrestlers and NIL deals that actually happen, because it does happen where it's mutually beneficial, where you can make some cash, you can partner with a brand. I did see that Kemerer commented on your post, disclaimer, athlete picture in the photo, eats ketchup with steak. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Listen, if brands are listening, especially brands in the Midwest, and you want to partner with a guy, I don't know how it's not Max. Max, I appreciate your time, man. Any final thoughts here before I let you go?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you for having me on. I've watched your podcast for a while now, and I like what you're all about. So I appreciate giving me your time as well, and for having me on.
I appreciate it, man. I think it's always great to be able to use this platform to give wrestlers a shine. Like I said, you had such a great freshman season, and guys like you make it so easy for guys like me and Willie to do a show and talk about all the great storylines and things going on. So it's fun, man. This has been great. You'll have to come back on again.
For sure.
An easy plan, just to plan. if you want to just go undefeated, like from now until April 2nd next year, and we'll just do this again.
We'll do it again. Let's do it.
Awesome. Max, thank you so much, man. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
Awesome. You too.